Yo, what's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another video here on the channel. We have some more Dragon Ball Sparking Zero news content and updates for you guys here on the channel. And today we basically have sort of like a beginner's guide that was released by Bandai Namco. This is really exciting because from this beginner's guide, we're basically given a variety of things to go through, like the HP and key gauge, the skill count, how we're going to be able to understand the battles, the controls, the customization, the stats, etc. It's really exciting. We have a lot to get through here today. So if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys do subscribe, ring that notification bell if you guys want to be updated with anything Dragon Ball related, and let's go ahead and get into this. So first thing is starting off with the HP and key gauge. So it says right here, HP gauge, the bar shows the character's current HP level and decreases when you or your opponent take damage. Once it hits 0, the character is defeated. Every HP bar has a different color going from blue to orange, and the amount of remaining HP bars is indicated in the left corner. So this is basically how every arena fighter is formatted. There is no surprise here. Obviously, the way the HP bar operates compared to other Dragon Ball games, depending on the certain attack that is used for you, will be different. But based off of this being a Budokai Tenkaichi series revamp, you can expect yourself to have at least 3 to 4 bars of health depending on the character that you choose. My assumption is that it's going to be at least 4 bars of health, and that health bar will gradually decrease over time depending if you're hit with an ultimate attack, a key blast attack, a super attack, or even basic fighting combos. As for the key gauge, it says here, like in the original anime, ki is the power that can be used to perform super attacks and other movements. To increase the key gauge, you can either charge it yourself, or it will slightly charge by itself whenever you hit your opponent with hand-to-hand combos. Once your key gauge is maxed out, you can start filling up your sparking gauge to enter a special state known as sparking mode, which requires at least 1 skill gauge to enter the mode. So if you guys are wondering what that means specifically, if you look at the health bar that I'm showing here on the screen right now, right under Goku here, you're going to see a number. This is your skill count. When your skill count reaches at least a number 1 or a number 2, obviously it doesn't matter. It just needs to reach the number 1. As your skill count reaches that number, you will be able to charge up your ki all the way to have maxed out ki, so you can enter in the sparking state so you can use your ultimate move. Now, the way that number increases is just that it increases over time. So as the battle gradually progresses, that bar will start off at 0, and the blue little line that's glowing above it will slowly or gradually increase to the very top over time. It goes to say here more that it says it decreases as you dash or use key blast and blast attacks. Now that's pretty straightforward. That's no surprise there. Finally, it says once the key bar becomes red, you will not be able to move until it returns back to normal. So all in all, this is basically just taking on the same sort of format as it was in Budokai Tenkaichi 3, but if you scroll down right here to where it says skill count, it says the skill count is used when you perform various moves such as transformations, fusions, and skills like super perceptions or revenge counter. It charges over time, as every time the blue bar is full, it adds 1 charge to the count. So the skill count will decrease over time based off of if you're using the fusion dance or the fusion technique or the Potara fusion, or if you're going to transform. Every time you transform, that skill count will go down by 1. Every time you use the sparking state, it will go down by 1. I think you need to have a certain amount of skill counts before you actually use them to switch into the Potara fusion. If this is taking on the same Budokai Tenkaichi format, I'm pretty sure that you need at least 4 or 5 skill counts before you're able to fuse into Gogeta or Vegito or Gotenks or whoever it is that you're going to be playing as. So right below this, it does say transformation icon, hit count, and timer. So there's going to be a timer throughout the battle. There's going to be a hit count right next on the side of the screen, basically displaying the amount of hits for the current combo that you're currently on. And on the transformation icon, it'll basically change when you transform. Let's say you're Goku and you're transforming to Super Saiyan or Super Saiyan Blue, it'll change along with that icon as well. Now, as for the controls, I've already went through this in a previous video, but I'll briefly go over it here as well. It says here standard or classic controls. Now, if you guys are wondering, for all you OG Budokai Tenkaichi players, the classic controls is more or less going to be the controls that you are going to be used to. So for myself, I've played a lot of the original Budokai Tenkaichi 3 game growing up, so I will probably use the classic controls, considering that that is the way that I'm most used to playing the Budokai Tenkaichi series games. But if you are probably new to the Budokai Tenkaichi series, the standard controls might be more to your liking, considering that this is a all-around base standard control set that could be used for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. So these basically consist of different binds for the game, but for the classic controls, as you can see where the descend and ascend button is, and also where the key charge button is, how you're going to block, throw key blasts, rush attacks, etc., that is equivalent or perpendicular to how it was in Budokai Tenkaichi 3, but it is a little bit different. It's sort of reversed a little bit for the standard controls. So however it is you are comfortable with, that is basically how you can go with. I personally play on PlayStation, or I play with a PlayStation controller, so I will probably be able to play with the classic controls for the PlayStation controller for myself. Now right here, this is something that I thought was really interesting. Right down below, it shows the standard controls and the classic controls basically being used and in a different sort of fighting format. But right here, the fighting format that it actually does show here is the clashes as a whole. And if something that you can take from this, under the classic controls, it seems like you are going to be able to do the exact same thing that you did in the Budokai Tenkaichi series, where you're basically going to have to swirl the analog stick over and over again in a circle, and that is really exciting. So basically, RIP to all of our controllers, just like how it was back in the day. Now, it does give us a brief set of the controls and how they're going to be formatted or looking like within the game. If you look at the standard controls here for the guard, on the top right corner here, you're going to see what the guard looks like. On the top right corner, you're going to see how the step or the short dash is going to look like within the game. On the bottom left corner, you will see how the ascend and descend button will look in the game, as well as the jumping. And on the bottom left corner right here, you basically do see Gohan using his heavy hold down smash attack that you use within the game. Obviously, how we throw key blasts and charge our key and stuff like that is pretty straightforward in the game, so there's no need for us to review that kind of stuff. Now, this is probably the most informative part that we've seen so far from this beginner's guide that we've been given by Bandai Namco, but this last section here is talking about understanding battles. So right here, first things first, it talks about reading stats. So this may or may not be taking the same sort of approach that it was within Xenoverse 2, but the stats are basically going to consist of something a little bit differently. So starting right here from the bottom, it does say each character has their own stat tree that can be influenced by customization, transformation, or current state, such as fusion or form. It displays the following metrics. So number one, it's special attack. This says this increases the strength of blast or ultimate blast. Number two is HP. Increasing this stat gives a higher number of HP. Number three is combo. This increases the damage dealt by combos. Number four is key. High key stats allow the character to perform stronger key blast and or charge their key faster. And number five is attack. This stat increases the power of smash and hand-to-hand attacks. So while this is basically taking on the same format as Xenoverse 2, we do have different set of metrics compared to Xenoverse 2. In Xenoverse 2, we did have things like Key Blast Supers, Key Supers, and stuff like that. Here for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, we have HP, Special Attack, Combo, Key, and basically attack. So depending on the character, your stats is basically going to vary depending on the character's fighting format in itself. So here in itself right here, I'm not sure whose fighting stat this is specifically. My assumption is that it's just Goku's, but for example, my assumption is that a character like Jiren or Hit will basically be more combo sort of attack characters, so you're going to see a lot more engagement on their combo set, and maybe less on their HP or less on their special attack or stuff like that. But this does give you a brief description on what each metric is going to be within the game specifically. So depending on the character, maybe Ribrianne will have more HP. A character like Broly will have more attack and HP and less on combos and stuff like that. Same thing with Kale being the full power in her full power Super Saiyan state. So we're just going to have to see how all of this is going to operate all in all as a whole. Last but not least, I think this is the most exciting part because we are talking about customization here. So if you look right here on the screen, for Goku, you will be able to customize the outfits that we will be able to use for Goku within the middle of the battle. Now, Obviously, within the middle of the battle, we are going to lose, like, there's also going to be destruction when it comes to our outfits as well. So, obviously, if you start off in the base Turtle Hermit Gi, if you get hit with a Sparking 0 attack, or you get hit with an attack in the Sparking state, rather, you'll have Goku in a topless state rather than with the same Gi and just having, like, blood and stuff like that on him and stuff like that, like the way it was in maybe like a Xenoverse 2 or something like that. But if you really do want to start off with Goku already in a topless sort of ripped Gi format, then you can do that as well. And personally, why I think this is very, very exciting is because, as you can see here based off the screen, you can use Goku in his Turtle Hermit Gi with no shirt on, with the blue ripped shirt on, Wii symbol Gi, any Gi such as that one. And what I think is really cool about that is that if this is true, we will be able to vary these specific outfits depending on the transformations that we would want to use for the characters. So that being said, if we want to use MUI Goku or UI signed Goku, we are more than likely going to be able to use those characters with these different outfits that we do have here on the game. So that is going to be absolutely phenomenal to see here on the game. That has actually never happened within any Dragon Ball game as a whole. We've actually never seen an official animation of Goku in his normal clothing or in his unripped clothing or in the Wii symbol Gi using these separate transformations. So the fact that we're going to be able to have that in Sparking 0, it's really, really exciting. Now, something that I thought was really interesting is when you look down here to where it says the ability items, it says here you can enhance characters' abilities such as speed, strength, and HP through capsule customization. So I'm not exactly sure, it doesn't give any sort of description on how we're going to be getting those capsule customizations, but it seems like we're going to be able to enhance our characters' abilities through those capsule customizations. So I'm not entirely sure how that's going to consist. I'm not sure how we're going to get those specifically. I'm pretty sure we may just get them through completing missions or battles along with the story itself. But either way, I really, really like how diverse they're basically making the stats within the game. And this game is basically going to require a lot more skill compared to a lot of other previous Dragon Ball games, compared to maybe like a Battle of Z or a Budokai 3, or maybe even, I'm not saying for sure, but maybe even a Fighter Z, you know, even though Fighter Z had a very complicated fighting format system. But either way, this is a very, very good fighting format system, and it is perpendicular to the Budokai Tenkaichi 3 game, so that's really, really cool, and that's exactly what you want to see when it comes to a game such as this one. But yeah, no, that's basically it. That's basically all I have here to cover for today. Let me know what you guys think about all of this stuff down in the comment section below. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. This just dropped today, so it was really, really cool to look at all of this stuff and dive deep into the fighting mechanics and the fighting format for the game. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Ring that notification bell if you want to be updated with anything Dragon Ball related, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.